Oh gosh. No, they're not. But the reason that they're very sensitive, actually. The PCR test is actually pretty sensitive, and it is a good test. The problem with the test, and the problem that we have with false negatives, is that the testing window is oftentimes not used correctly. And so what I mean by that is, like, if I come over to your house and you have COVID, and you tell me the very next day, oh, I just got diagnosed, I just took a test and I have COVID, so I've only been exposed for one day, and I run and get a test because I want to make sure I don't have it, there's like 100% chance that I'm going to have a false negative if I'm positive if I test on day one.
Okay.
The ultimate window of when you want to have a test is day 6 and 7 post-exposure, because we have literature that shows that your viral load is so low on days like 1 through 3 that it's like non-detectable. If you're positive, on day 4, that risk of a false positive drops, but it drops again. The risk of a false positive drops as the days go on. And then after like day 9, it goes back up, the risk. So you really need to try to, so where this becomes problematic is when I'm working every single day at like a grocery store and I have people coming in every day. How do you know when that exposure took place? You kind of don't, right? So unless you're testing regularly, it's very hard to know what window to test in. In the example I gave the first time, where I'm coming to your house and you tell me you have COVID, I can pinpoint an exposure. But if I'm somebody that works in an essential worker position, or if I'm a healthcare worker, it's very hard to pinpoint my exposure. So testing negative may not be that meaningful for those people if I'm not capturing the right window. That's why the saliva test, to like just monitor on an ongoing basis when they're available to us in our homes and like to use regularly, will be much, much more informative, because you can then continue to monitor yourself and not have to worry about these windows so much.
Excellent.
So what about, so is there less chance then that if you get a positive result that you're actually negative?
Yes, there's a less. So if you're positive, you're pretty much positive.
Okay.
It's the false negatives that we worry about.
So there's no
there
chance
are
that
false
we didn't get
positives,
COVID.
but they're much more rare. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Like when the whole thing with Elon Musk, like I tested both nostrils and one was negative and one was positive, so I call BS on this whole thing. Like that whole thing that he did. I mean, all of us in the healthcare were like, you're positive, like, like, because
Right.
the nasopharynx, the nasopharynx is really where the virus is, and he took a saliva test. If any of those saliva tests come out positive, it's pretty much like, I mean, we just kind of all shrugged that off. But, the PCR test where they put the Q-tip up your nose, where they sample that is really where the virus likes to replicate, in the back of your nose there.
Okay.
So yeah, the PCR test is much better, but false positives are more rare.
Yeah, there was always the worry that I might not have had COVID and I just messed up because we done the tests at home.
And it was like 8 days in, or something like that as well.
It was a bit later. It was when we already started feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move into the next question. Is it true if someone has a common cold, they would test positive for COVID? Sorry,
no,
I love how she
not
started all these questions with, is it true? Just to start
no,
them
you're
off.
fine. Yeah, no. I understand that these are questions people have.
Yeah.
I know it's not you asking. No, so the PCR test is not going to pick up. There are several coronaviruses, like 7, that can infect humans. The PCR test for COVID-19 will only detect COVID-19. It's not going to pick up your other coronaviruses. We had originally, our test for COVID in the U.S. was going to have all of these together, but we don't have that now. That didn't really work. So I know the PCR test that is being used is just for COVID-19.